What's going on, y'all? Trevor Topping, Game 7 Mindset, August 17th, Episode 7. Told y'all I had a top 20 for you, NBA players. Want to talk on the free agency with Russell Westbrook on the Lakers, and then we will transition going forward to fantasy football conversation, fired up for football, coming off best year last year, gambling-wise, and just excited to see what Tom and the boys can do, see if the Redskins, the football team, can win the NFC East, and see what quarterbacks want to show up this year, see how the fantasy teams perform. But we had Russell Westbrook go to the Lakers, and as a KD guy, there's literally nothing I could ask for, as people have talked to me about who's got better leadership between Kevin Durant, LeBron James, different styles of leadership. Kevin Durant's definitely a quiet dude. I didn't know how much he was going to care about Team USA, and turns out he cared a pretty good bit. And the least stacked team that we've ever seen in my lifetime. And they got gold, and that's as the world's gotten better in basketball. And just because, again, you're more talented doesn't mean you're going to win the game. And saw their early struggles. I truly think the release of Bradley Beal from COVID helped their chemistry. He is a very talented guy, just an ISO guy. And that's just more touches, less rhythm for the best scorer in the world, and Kevin Durant, who's your leader. And as their team struggled to find any type of rhythm, Kevin Durant literally carried them to a gold. Shout out to KD and Team USA for repping for the home team. So let's see what Bron can do. When Magic Johnson said this team just needs LeBron James. No, we don't. We didn't. No, we didn't. No, we sure didn't. And now you've got LeBron and Russ, who two of the best athletes when you talk about power, speed, kind of what you see at the combine, which like measures athleticism, right? Doesn't measure intangibles or mental awareness, in my opinion, very well. But LeBron and Russ are two of the best athletes in the history of basketball, certainly in my lifetime. And their knock is that their shooting isn't there. And LeBron's worked on it. Russ has gotten worse. And so now you've got those two guys those two guys with the outside threat in Carmelo, where he better shoot 45% or better. And I think he'll be more 42% from the floor, maybe to 38, depending, again, how hard he's working. I know he's improved and gotten back to kind of a little bit of the old Melo. But, again, that's a lot of big names on the floor trying to share the ball. Russ likes to have the ball in his hand. Bron likes to have the ball in his hand. Melo, when he gets the ball, he likes to hold it and square up, do his little triple threat thing, then just pull up one step, shoot. Honestly, kind of like to play like that myself when I get the ball and try and get in a rhythm shooting. But shooting allows a defender, if that player they're guarding can shoot, to really figure out how to defend you and how that team defends you. And I don't care if you're 6'8" and 260, like LeBron. I think I can guard you because I'll give you 2 feet and just foul the hell out of you or beat you to the spot and make you shoot a contested jumper. And that's been the knock on LeBron and Russ, and why I think I would rather have a guy like Kevin Durant, where you have to be up in him 30 feet out from the basket because he can just make the tough jumper. Certainly going to make a wide open one. And so we'll find out how good LeBron's leadership is. He's never had an alpha or kind of a problem maker in Russ, who doesn't try. He tries to be a good teammate. A lot of his teammates say he's a good teammate. They all say the right things. Bradley Beal said, I don't know why there's the slander on Russ, or why there's this talk about Russ. He's a great teammate. So one season, right? And what? The Wizards just traded Russ in hopes to keep Bradley Beal long term. Bradley Beal didn't like to play with Russ. He wanted to leave. One season. Paul George company, out. James Harden, out. This man KD played with Russ for how long? And then y'all gave him, it was a weak move for sure. But yeah, that was right after Bron got to play with Wade, Bosh, and Ray. Yeah, and I got Russ and Ibaka. Cool. So let's see. Let's see how good LeBron's leadership is. The difference maker, and the guy I haven't said a word out yet, is Anthony Davis. Is he going to be on the court? Is he going to be healthy? That shortened pandemic season helped the Lakers, especially AD, who is literally a top 5 player if he can just be healthy, but he's not healthy. So I can't have him as a top 5 player. And, we'll see. I cannot wait. I think it's great. A Lakers-Nets finals would be epic. So we will see, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get through the top 20 here. It's an interesting 20. And we'll look to football in the next episodes. Important to note, Kobe Bryant was the best player in the league. He passed the torch to LeBron James. LeBron was the best player for certainly a few years. And then I think in 2011 when KD got to the finals at like 22, 23 years old, right? And he averaged 30. He played super well. For me, he was right on the cusp. I mean, right there, close to LeBron. And I get LeBron does more than Kevin Durant. But again, basketball is a team. You need role players. You need a team. And you want your best player to be essentially what Jordan, a 35-5 kind of guy. I think KD in the playoffs this year was like 34-9-4. You want them to shoot 50% or better, and you really want them to play their best ball in the fourth quarter, in the last 5 minutes, and in the postseason. That's everything Kevin Durant is. LeBron James plays great ball in the postseason as well. Again, his jump shot is just questionable. His free throws are questionable. He picks when he wants to play on defense. I don't like that. I mean, his Cleveland teams were horrible when he went back and played with Kyrie and Kevin Love on defense. If they had been better, I think they would have given the Golden State Warriors a better shot than the gentleman's sweep when they had Kyrie and Kevin Love, 3 All-Stars. But LeBron's been, let's give him his respect. He's been a hell of a player and basically the best player or second best player for 16 years. Maybe 17. I think he's coming into his 18th year. Could be wrong on that, but I think that's right. So I've got LeBron at 3. I just want to preface that it's been KD and Bron, the 2 best players, since really 2012. Kawhi's been the 3rd since 2014, 15-ish. I don't know, right around there. And then you've had Steph in that 4th slot. So those have been the 4 best players. Who's the 5th has kind of rotated for me. But starting out, the best player coming into this season and after last season is certainly Kevin Durant. Don't need to get into too much more. We've talked about that enough. The way Giannis hurt his knee, came back, played as well as he did. When the Bucks played so well without him, you were like, whoa, they don't have the non-shooter out there. Are they even more of a threat just because they're deep? And Brook Lopez got to play more. He was like a 20-10 type player before he came to the Bucks. And then you've got Middleton, who's a great role player, shooter. Holiday, great role player, just all-around point guard. And then you have the role players and Portis, long, athletic, can shoot type guy, the defensive stopper, and PJ Tucker. And Pat McConaughey, I always say his name wrong, just another great role player. They didn't even have DiVincenzo, who he had 10 points a game, another great player. All can shoot, and that just makes a great team. But when Giannis comes back, plays the way he does, makes his free throws the way he did in the Game 6, actually made a few jumpers, just dominated on both ends of the floor like he did. And then just his personality. I love his personality and like his character and just everything about him. He's still probably not as good as LeBron, but he's younger. He can probably defend harder. And if he goes to the basket like that, even if like LeBron's guarding him or, DeAndre Ayton's young, kind of soft looking ass didn't have much for him, I'm putting Giannis at 2. I'm respecting the man. And again, LeBron, after 16, 17 years at the 1-2 spot, let's get him to 3. He's old as heck, still balling. I hope that this would put a chip on his shoulder, not that he'd see it. and have a heck of a year. And again, Lakers-Nets finals, I want everyone healthy, playing their best. LeBron was balling last year for his ankle, just wasn't the same after the ankle tweak. And so we've got Kevin Durant, Giannis, LeBron, top three. Steph, definitely my fourth player. Again, team didn't make the playoffs. That's a tough look. Again, if Draymond, I've talked about Draymond a lot with friends and family. We'll continue to talk about Draymond. Cannot wait for Klay to come back. Steph, Dre, Klay. Let's see what those three can do. They had a 10-deep, 2 starting 5 type roster when they were as epic as they were those years before they got the finals, when it was Delly and LeBron and everyone else was hurt in the West, Clippers and Thunder. And I just want to see what those three can do. They won't have much of a bench. Wiseman's a pretty good player. Wiggins is very inconsistent to me. And there should be no excuses. But Steph has had his moments in the playoffs where it's not the prettiest thing. But as far as a leader, point guard, and the best shooter I've ever seen, a hell of a basketball player, number 4. Kawhi, number 5, a better two-way player than Steph. Has that cold blood gene too in the fourth quarter. Just injury concerns and his way of leading and kind of going about the game and being super quiet is a little scary. He's even more quiet than KD from what I see. Would love to know what players think in the locker room of Kevin Durant and Kawhi, who's a better leader, more vocal as far as whatever the team needs at that given point in time in the locker room, in the game, you name it. But Kawhi is number 5. That's a hell of a starting 5 right there with KD, Giannis, LeBron, Steph, Kawhi. Number 6, Luka. This man's a problem. Made Slovenia relevant in the Olympics. Just a heck of a player. Honestly, as I watch the playoffs, I think my biggest knock on him is just kind of having that Harden mentality. And LeBron has a little bit too, but he's the best at it. Just like really dominating the ball, not letting other people touch it enough, not having the ball move enough. And Luka looked so unselfish in the Olympics. So I know he has that in his game. I just think he kind of lost trust. And whether it was KP or the rest of his teammates, I just don't love the I'm doing everything kind of Russell Westbrook mentality. But Luka is incredible, putting up numbers better than LeBron early in his career. As good of an offensive threat as a young man as I've ever seen. And Luka's number 6. Number 7, I got to give Joel Embiid some props too. Again, playing through the injury he did. He's got a weird mentality and kind of just being mentally soft, it looks like at times. But just an absolute hoss of a human being and a hell of an athlete. And you wonder how that body can stay healthy, just being as big as it is. But he can shoot. He has the touch. He can make free throws as a big man, and he passes pretty well as a big man. I mean, he can literally do everything. So Anthony Davis was always my first big man, again, since 2014-ish, 2015. And now Embiid is the best big man for me. Damian Lillard, number 8. Talked to some friends. I had Dame one spot down below. Trying to pay respect to the next man. I'll get to him, but Dame is, I cannot say Dame is worse than this guy. Dame is incredible. Dame can pull from 35. He has carried that Portland team. And, Dame time is special. That shot against PG was as deep and special as you'll ever see. And just a heck of a point guard and player and another just great leader. So again, you got Steph there at 1 at PG and Dame at 2. And then number 9, I've got Chris Paul. And I just saw something from Bleacher Report saying that, kind of the top 10 trios coming in, and Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker were 9. They just made the finals. Chris Paul has made every team he's on relevant. He's a hell of a leader and kind of the mid-range, just know how to come off a pick and roll and beat you, share the ball, doesn't dominate the ball, plays great defense. For being undersized, at least, I think he's played better defense than Steph throughout their careers. And just his flow is so smooth. He's got the D-Wade smoothness. His mentality's been a little weird in how he's taking like cheap shots at guys. I don't like that, but I just think that CP3, since I've been in love with basketball and following the NBA, really as I have gotten older, has never gotten any respect. And I'm not a CP3 diehard fan. I like Steph more, but I like Dame more, just as a fan. But like CP3, we got to give this man respect. Like what are we doing? How do we sleep on him so much? And he has come up short in postseason and kind of gotten the unclutch thing. And in Game 6, he played pretty well. Had some bad games in the finals. So, I mean, he kind of earned that. And on the Clippers, he's earned that. But I'm putting CP at 3 at 9. Give this man respect. He is old and still hooping. And they're going to be good again. And that Suns team was young and didn't know how to win. And without him, where are they a playoff team? I mean, I don't know. With him, they made it to the finals, and they smoked and swept the Joker, who did not have Jamal Murray, and I've got Joker at 10 here. My second best big man, because AD's not healthy enough, Embiid's just too big down low, would post up the Joker in my opinion. But his ability to pass the ball, again, shoot, kind of score, and just play scrappy basketball is awesome. And so, again, I've got Dame at 8, CP3 at 9, the Joker at 10. Heck of a player. Seems like a great guy, too. Love some of these guys from outside of America coming in and putting the league on notice that again, just the world is getting better and growing in the game. And, again, you've got Luka, Giannis, and the Joker, 3 guys in the top 10 for me. As an American guy who loves supporting the home team and the American players, honestly, a little bit more, just because that's our boys. The Joker's at 10. I've got AD at 11. Again, you saw it in the bubble. I mean, when he's healthy, and gosh, being a second man to LeBron, I mean, that combo is just lethal. So again, if LeBron and AD are healthy again this year, even if they have Russ in the postseason, they're going to be a threat to win it all. I'm just hoping that Russ does what he does and takes away shots from AD or flow from AD and Bron and causes LeBron fans some of the headache that the KD fans got to see firsthand. But Anthony Davis, hell of a player, hell of a defender. Again, love two-way players. Again, Kawhi, AD, just probably the 2 best two-way players. I mean, KD's really turned on his defense, and I think has earned that. Giannis has become that. LeBron should have more defensive first teams. Again, picks and chooses, but Anthony Davis, hell of a player, number 11. Number 12, Kyrie Irving. When he's on the right team as a number 2, he is definitely a top 12 player in the NBA. When he's the only player on his team as far as like superstar, he shrinks. And again, all these players are ranked on where they are currently. All the variables that go into their team matter. Again, James Harden, I haven't said yet, and he should be higher than where he is. But again, on the team that he's on, well, you came in out of shape. You got hurt. Came back, respect it, but you're horrible. In the regular season, a lot of people were saying that he was an MVP candidate. I just don't like how he dominates the ball. I would rather have Kyrie Irving dominate the ball and score, because I've seen the cold-bloodedness more from Kyrie in the postseason. Kyrie and Harden are 2 of the best scorers I've ever seen, basically both unguardable when they're hot. I trust Kyrie more than Harden, so I've got Kyrie 12, James Harden at 13. Again, James Harden on the Rockets, he would be higher than he is now, but he's got to share the ball with Kyrie and KD. His defense can be questionable at times. I think he's working on it. His flopping was horrendous. I hated that. Really, him and LeBron, 2 most floppers I've ever seen, especially as far as the superstar realm. And again, Kyrie at 12, James Harden at 13, leads me to Paul George. Got to give PG respect. Another two-way player. Kind of was questioning what was up with PG. I guess he hurt his shoulder from the Thunder. just didn't have the postseason swag in the bubble too. Oh my goodness, it was not pretty on the Clips. And him and Paul George and Russ getting bounced in the first round twice. Once with Melo, once without. Not a great look. And after this postseason, you got to see a little bit of the old PG come out with Kawhi there. It would have been awesome to see what they would have done. But he did everything I thought he could for his team to try to beat the Suns, and it just wasn't quite enough. I think the Suns just had a little more depth, and Chris Paul put the team on his back at times along with D-Book, and got Paul George at 14, which leads me to 15. Got to give the boy in Boston, the Duke boy, Jayson Tatum, an absolute young stud just like Luka. Looked good at times in the Olympics as the kind of season and practice and rhythm and chemistry of the team progressed. So Jayson Tatum at 15, another young two-way player. I mean, I have not seen someone do what he did to KD in a long time. He dropped 40 on KD in a postseason game when KD was trying to defend, because he kind of coasts, especially as you get older. You see these NBA players really kind of just make sure they stay healthy, trying on defense, but not like all out kind of game 7 mindset, postseason mentality. And Tatum dropped 40 on KD, and that was tough. And his team banged up, just not even close to enough help for him to really have a shot, especially when you're matched up against the Nets. And Jayson Tatum at 15. To 16, we've got D-Book. Again, he was better than Chris Paul in the finals. Is probably more talented than Chris Paul right now, but I value experience. Chris Paul's experience, just knowing how to win games and really conduct your team as the point guard and kind of leader of the team. I think that experience, is why he's a little bit higher than some of these younger guys and some of these other talented players like Kyrie, Harden, Paul George. But Devin Booker's coming. He will continue to move up this list, as will Tatum. Both going to be two of the best players in the league in time. And just an absolute bucket as he continues to get better defensively, and really as maybe a facilitator for some of his teammates. Again, he'll climb this list, and just an absolute bucket in Booker. And Devin Booker at 16. I had Trey Young as a top 10 season this season for the 2020-2021 season. Top 10 player for the season. I've got Trey Young here at 17. Another young superstar in the making. What he did to the Sixers and getting to where he did in the Eastern Conference Finals was sick for a young guy on a young kind of core team. I mean, that was cool. And Trey Young, again, another guy who can step over half court like Dame, Steph, and KD. It's in range. Shot efficient. If he hadn't tweaked his ankle, I would have loved to see what the man could have done. But again, he'll be there, and you just hope that consistency is still there, with that not being kind of a fluke, and his postseason play being like that, his leadership kind of being like that. But it put a lot of analysts on the map, and old players saying, wow, this guy is now gone in the superstar range. So again, at 17 and leading his team, I think he leads a team almost better than anything. Certainly better than anything I saw from Kyrie when it was his team on his own, not having a Bron or KD. And I think better than James Harden as a young of an age. That was awesome what he did to the Sixers and starting out against the Bucks. So Trey Young at 17. Donovan Mitchell for the Jazz has continued to develop and really become a stud. And I just see every aspect of his game improving. Donovan Mitchell at 18, another just heck of a shooter, got the quickness and smooth to his game, and then the quick twitch fiber to go up and bang like he does, a little dude. He's a bad man. So the Spider at 18. 19 and 20 is tough. Again, you're kind of nitpicking here. I mentioned Bradley Beal on the Olympic team. A lot of people probably have him in their top 20. I'm leaving him out of my top 20 because I've never seen him win in the postseason. And then he had John Wall. That you have plenty of talent there. to make something happen. And then you have Russ there, and not a ton of depth, but you got some role players on that team. And I don't like his ISO ball. So Bradley Beal, shout out to you, talented player, but you were not in my top 20. I've got Zion Williamson from the Pelicans at 19. Again, not a ton of help for his team, but the numbers he puts up and the way he plays, I want that guy on my team. I would pick him in my first couple picks as my power forward. And again, as he continues to develop his shot, his just tenacity and like second bounce and just the way he plays on the boards, man, and going to the rack, kind of the old school approach. I love to have a little bit of that still in the league. And so I gave Zion, again, a two-way player, going to defend tough at 19. And then got to give Klay Thompson some props and respect. So I put Klay at 20. One of my favorite players, just a sniper. Again, if he was on his own team, not with a system and again, a point guard and Steph Curry, I think it would be harder for him to do what he does. He might put up great numbers, points per game wise, but he can go cold like shooters do. Not as efficient shooting as some, but again, as hot as anyone we've ever seen, being able to put up the amount of points in a quarter in a game that he can do. Great two-way player, again, defends pretty well, and is just a guy you want on your team. So, and in the top 20 with Klay Thompson. Would love to see him be the best player on his team. I don't know how many games they'd win. I don't think they would make the postseason if they're in the West. But a hell of a player. If he's your number two, we're going to see. If Draymond's your two, you're definitely not making the playoffs because he wasn't even their number two for the Warriors. If Klay's your number two, let's see what Steph and Klay can do. Let's see if they make the postseason. Hopefully Klay is healthy. It's been too long since we've gotten to see that man play. He's a fun player to watch and seems like a great guy as well. So KD, Giannis, LeBron, Steph, Kawhi, Luka, Embiid, Dame, CP3, Joker, AD, Kyrie, Harden, Paul George, Tatum, Booker, Trey Young, Donovan Mitchell, Zion Williamson, Klay Thompson. That's the top 20. Episode 7, Trevor Toppin live from the 757. Game 7 mindset. We've got Tom Brady, who has the ultimate Game 7 mindset, coming back here soon. College football is coming back here soon. And fantasy football is coming here soon. Stay tuned. Y'all have a great day. God bless.